Welcome to Mastering Aquaponics. In this new series, we will teach you how to design the failure out of your aquaponics system, and you can start your off-grid story. This is ours. This is our garden, and it's certainly not a bad garden, but we knew it could be so much more. I live here with my partner, Harmy, and she's always wanted a small holding. She loves the idea of self-sufficiency and creating a little haven, so I bought her a duck. This is Audrey. Now, she produces beautiful eggs, but when we had too many one year, we incubated them. Suddenly, we had a house full of ducklings. You probably never considered having a spare bedroom full of ducklings, but I bet you're seriously considering it now. Now, they matured into a fine flock of Aylesbury's, but we soon realised it just wasn't practical having an entire flock, so we moved over to Bantams. This is Agneta and Anifried, and they may lay small eggs, but they're an absolute joy to have bouncing around the garden. Again, we incubated some eggs quite late in the year, and out popped Noogie. Noogie's our cheeky little cockerel. And over the winter, he lived inside, so he imprinted on us. And thus he follows us around everywhere, literally. Back in the summer, Fortune brought a large swarm of bees to the top of the tree at the end of the garden. And not to miss an opportunity like that, I got my ladder, I got stung to hell, but I grabbed the swarm. And after a couple of quick phone calls around the village, we managed to get hold of an old hive and some basic beekeeping equipment very cheaply, including a beekeeping manual. And that turns out to be an absolutely invaluable guide because beekeeping is a lot more involved than it sounds. Anyway, back to the garden. You see this shed? That's what started all of this. It was rotten and needed replacing. So we went out looking for a new one, but the only thing that we found that we actually thought would be useful were these shed greenhouse combinations, but they're so expensive. So we started looking for alternative ones, and we came across workshops built into 20-foot by 8-foot containers. And for the greenhouse, I found polytunnels, and now they're a lot cheaper than greenhouses and massive. So we ordered one straight away, and we could start our garden design on the back of a tissue, obviously. Now, the design got quite elaborate, including a garden kitchen with a grill and a sink and a clay pizza oven, and then a huge pond across the garden with a bridge over it. But the reality is that hiring an excavator and buying a liner are nothing compared to how expensive filtration would be. So, as always, we looked for alternatives. Now, that's when I found natural ponds. Now, they're small ecosystems where the plants and the rocks are all part of the natural filtration system. You can even have a natural swimming pool this way. It was at that point I realised I'd gone way off script. This started with me wanting to make a small holding and a haven for Harmy. Then it hit me. If I grew fish as livestock and kept them in tanks in the tunnel for the nitrates they produce, then I could use aquaponics to grow my plants. So I started feverishly designing aquaponics systems. Now, with the garden in absolute disarray, the polytunnel turned up and we started construction straight away. Then almost simultaneously, after a year of searching, we found a shipping container for £1,000 on eBay. Now, as you can imagine, this was quite a spectacle in the village when everybody was wondering what the hell the hippie was doing in his garden this time. Then finally, he was in place. And for the first time, the scheme was starting to become tangible. Then, on Christmas Day, a request on Facebook brought community-minded helpers to pull tight the sheeting, and the tunnel was finished, just in time for the poultry to be put inside for the bird flu outbreak. I spent a good year researching and designing aquaponics systems, and then frugally buying all the parts I needed, like this pool sand filter converted to suit my designs, and a tank, again off eBay for £200, that Harmy decided would make an excellent hot tub, until I filled it with fish, that is. Then there was a very long period of failing and learning and failing and relearning until the fish side of the system was finally stable enough for the annual cycle. So I could then start, as per tradition, designing the deep water culture on a scrap receipt. Now, the plant side of the system could start taking shape, and because a lot of time went into the design, it came together very quickly, and the system was gathering interest locally. And we were asked to enter the garden scheme that we run in the village called National Gardens. And last year, we got 340 guests through there in the afternoon. Now, a lot of people discovered aquaponics that day, but by this point, the whole garden had come together into a lovely, cosy party space and a small holding. So come along with us on this journey as we develop this system and the garden for the 2020 event, and we'll teach you everything you need to know from beginners to advanced, the kitchen counter to commercial scale. Please tell us what you think about our project. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for the next update. See you next week.